Welcome back to Trigger Talk. Today we have special guest Desi or Tony from Kilo 3.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
So, what exactly kind of other job do you have, just in particular, that you
Within Kilo or outside?
outside
Outside of Kilo. So,
that you, balance with Kilo and stuff?
So I am actually grateful to have the best balance that I possibly could at the moment. So let me start backwards. When we started up with Kilo, I was a store manager for Zoomies.
Okay.
I was doing that for like 6 years, and that was hectic. I had more than a full-time job. I was a salaried position, so I was always working. After that, I left that company and I actually opened my own business in the back of my house called Leaf Meat Bee. It's a plant store for exotic and rare plants. That consumed even more of my time. So I had less and less time for airsoft, and I was starting a new business. So it was balancing, like, airsoft is expensive. So I was like balancing this whole thing. And now I'm still an entrepreneur, but I run as a process server. So I serve legal papers for attorneys and their clients. So the benefit of that is attorneys pay well, and I generally don't have to work that much. So it frees up that much more time, and I have that much more flexibility when it comes to airsoft. So I've been more involved than I ever have.
Okay. What are some just examples of like some fun external events you may have gone to?
The most notable that I will mention from like our recent history and specifically event producer wise, I won't even narrow it down to event, is GGP Productions, Gun Gamers Productions. We're going to their event, which is Deadfall next weekend. Most notably, the one we went to most recently was their 24-hour event, which was Shadows of Forn Valley.
Okay.
Very immersive play style. It's limited ammo count. Weapon class is like super important, and squad communication. So like when you're talking about Milsim at like damn near that Milsim West experience, those guys offer it. So those have been really cool. Recently, we also did Apocalypse 9 by Otherworld Milsim. Those guys are also really great event producers. A little less serious in terms of like the Milsim West aspects, where it's like, you have to wear this, you have to do this, you have to do this. It's a little more open, but you can run it the same way if you really want. And they also featured that one as a 10-hour event. So it was relatively nonstop. It was go, go, go pace. I haven't had the opportunity of playing any actual LARP games, but a couple of the guys did go down to Revelations at Balahack, which...
So that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I've been dying for it.
I pronounced it wrong on the last episode of the podcast.
Oh, got you. Yeah, it's tricky. Balahack is a cool field. I aspire to be at the level of LARP that they do for like things like our Halloween games, which I think is coming. And I think, Homebound was a great step in that right direction. Matt did a great job with Patient Zero the year before that. But we're always looking to make it more and more LARPy specifically for that game. Okay. So... dude, I don't have really any qualms with any event producers. Everyone's got kind of like their own niche that they run or their own like experience level of the games that they run. So it kind of depends on what you as the player find yourself fitting into. And I think there's something available for you.
Okay.
TriggerTalkEP Action News. How do you feel?
I feel great. Bomb has been defused.
And what do you have to say to the inferior fighting force?
I have to say, puny defense. Too easy to defuse.
TriggerTalkEP Action News. How goes the front leader?
It is going strong. We are holding back enemy forces. We will not let them take this battle point.
And what do you have to say to these rebel scum who think themselves better than the superior government?
They think they may be strong, but we have superior coordination and superior firepower. They can fight all they want. We will hold.
And as you can see, we have captured already a POW.
I found this one executing our POWs.
Hey Matt, do you happen to have any spare light?
You see, these
I do, yeah.
rebel scum, that they can invade TriggerTalkEP. Well, yeah, that's what we do to you.
What made you start this rebellion?
They're taking our land, they're taking our food, they're taking our women. And I'm not standing for that liberty or death, brother. Hold on. We just gotta cut this shit out. Fuck the tyranny, fuck the government. This TriggerTalkEP force needs to end.
This is TriggerTalkEP Action News. How goes the fight?
Where's our Air Force? 3 days. 3 days we've been at this. No Air Force, no air support, no resupply, all by ourselves.
Supreme Commander says that we do not need Air Force to keep rebels back. What is your take on this from the superior, obviously more professional military?
Professional. That's a statement.
Comrade, where is that? Where is my gun?
Oh, you lost your gun again. See, he's hiring conscripts who don't even know where to keep the rifles. This is not professional. Go get your rifle.
Where is rifle? He never told.
That's no matter.
This has been TriggerTalkEP Action News.
Do you happen to have any particular advice for like new players or even more experienced players that aren't like very frequent, maybe?
Absolutely. So I think one of the things that happens in airsoft is people say it's 90% looks, right? Yeah. So everyone wants to be that super cool LARPerator and just, be the top of their game. I think ultimately the thing that defines someone being a good player or a great player comes down to like very basic stuff. Find gear that is comfortable for you.
Yeah.
Comfortable. It doesn't have to look the coolest. If it's comfortable, you'll find yourself performing better. You have more liquidity in your movements. And the other thing is, like, if you are going to put money into an area of airsoft, put it into your one replica that you're going to run a lot. And what I mean by that is you do not have to buy the most expensive $1,000 replica. You don't have to run HPA if you don't want to. But there's very cheap and cost-effective solutions that you can do to upgrading your replica that will make very serious difference. Yeah. So what I'd say in the replica department is the first thing you want to look for is a gun with a MOSFET. So
yes.
The reason being is they can handle an 11.1. It's not going to wear down on you as fast. Generally, if it has a MOSFET, it's probably going to come with at least pre-upgraded internals. And then the second best advice I can give you is run heavier BBs. So 0.32s are your best way to go, even in a lower power airsoft gun. There's some really good videos out there. Explosive Enterprises actually, I think, recently released this video about basically projectile physics in airsoft.
Okay.
And they explain that in way more detail than I will. But yeah, so like 3.2s are a great way to improve the range and joule energy of your replica. And then on top of that is you don't have to open your gearbox to be the most top functioning player on the field. It really starts with the bucking rubber that you're using. Sometimes the hop-up unit. Honestly, the stock ones are generally fine. And then your barrel. Yeah, sometimes. You run into weird cases.
That broke on me the last time, so I had to buy a whole new one. It works.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I've Matt is probably the better one to talk to about this. He's the all-knowing tech wizard.
Yeah, when my he helped me with my ARP9 originally when it broke, and he was just like, "Yeah, that just sounds like a burnt-out trigger unit." And I looked in it, burnt-out trigger unit.
Yep, contacts fried up.
Yep.
Yeah, someone just asked about that in the Discord too, and it's basically the same story over and over. He's gotten really good to the point where he can. He can hear it. He can hear it. I'm not quite there. I'm like, well, I think it might be this based on sound, but I got to look at it to be like sure. But yeah, and you don't have to be a tech to make it super good. They're honestly pretty user friendly as long as you got a couple YouTube videos going. If you don't feel comfortable, bring your replica to R&M. Ask if Matt or myself or Alex if any of them are willing to look at it. We'll probably work something out with you. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure other people at the field would also be willing.
Yeah, I can't speak to anyone other's technical
know,
knowledge.
like,
I've seen these guys do it.
I've torn this thing apart a million times.
Right.
But I know some other people on the field are, let's say, tech wizards.
Right.
But yeah.
That's the way to go. If you can get into your own gearbox, extra props to you. Know your own stuff like the back of your hand.
And if your gearbox is completely full of oil, that's bad.
That is bad. That's bad. Especially if you have an optical MOSFET. Don't function too well through lithium grease.
Yeah, I had my ARP9 originally when it was an AAG. The M4 V2.
V2 gearbox.
V2 gearbox was in it. I opened that thing up because I was trying to get to the trigger unit. It's just the entire thing was covered in just like this black grease.
Yep.
Yep.
It happens.
Is there any particular like rig or setup that you prefer to run?
I'm different than all the other guys. I'm the only one that doesn't complain about running a plate carrier, I think, on the team. I run a Shellback Tactical Rampage 2 with foam plates, and I use a flat pack on my backside. As far as like my pouches go, I use these, I don't even know what brand they are, but they're like Taco hard shell, like they're the soft rubber, but they're like more the rubber fitting things, and I like those because I don't have to have straps over the top of my magazines, which means I have quick, easy access, and I know they're not going to fall out. The flat pack is so that if I'm running an HPA tank, I can have it there, but it's also as compressed as possible. And the shellback I like because it gives me extra magazine storage under my arms. I'm a smaller dude, so I was able to crank that guy down, and I also added like quick release on my lower part of the plate carrier. Don't really care too much about the shoulders, but that's one area where I appreciate it. And then any advice that I have for people that are also going to run plate carriers is understand the where on your body a plate carrier is supposed to cover. A lot of people let them sag really far down or like really far down in the back. They're supposed to cover your vital areas. I do recommend foam plates, and then also just tighten your cummerbund really tight. That's how you get the relief off your shoulders. That's why you don't see me complaining about my shoulders generally after the end of a game. But yeah, other people really like chest rigs, especially for the longer form games. I totally get it. I've run them several times. I just like that. I built my plate carrier for every possible use, so I don't have to take molly off. I don't have to put different things on. It's just ready to go.
Okay. And is there a particular replica or brand of replicas that you prefer?
So as far as for starting players, I definitely recommend like an AR-based platform, M4. It's classic. There's the most parts available for a V2 style gearbox. And in terms of like any brand I recommend, I would specifically recommend this aftermarket brand. It's called Maple
Leaf?
Yep, Maple Leaf. So that's the blackout that I usually run. That thing is really solid. Jacob is a really cool guy. He puts his heart and soul into those. That company grew from nothing. They're great guns out of the box. They're pre-upgraded. They're ready to rock. If you don't have the money to invest in that, I would suggest, if you're looking at that price-friendly thing, a lot of people don't like Lancer, but the Lancer Tactical Gen 3 series,
they work.
They're pretty decent. They're they have 13-to-1 standard gear ratio inside, so it's already miles above what a lot of the other competition is doing. That's a price friendly point. Other than that, I don't think it really matters too much in terms of brand. I do a lot of my research through the community, so like I look at places like Reddit and I'm like, oh, if I want this replica, what do people on Reddit say about it? And then also understanding that no matter what I get, I can swap the barrel, I can swap the bucking, and I'll probably be miles ahead of other people. That's just the way it goes. But yeah, no, I don't think you can really go too wrong, with the exception of there's some brands out there who I'm not going to throw shots at that have poor quality control. And I'll throw a little shot at Lancer Tactical because like their older generations of their guns, they weren't great, but they've done miles ahead in improving, and I think it's great for like newer players. So,
what particular gun do you
for
run?
the longest time I've been running my Maple Industries Blackout with the Leviathan setup. It's been great. I, however, have managed to beat it into the ground, so it's encountering an issue of PME, premature engagement of my piston. So now it's shooting 0.03 joules at random. It's very weird. So I've moved on from that for the current moment until we figure out what is going wrong. We've torn it apart like 40 times, myself and Matt, and Alex, actually. It's shimmed perfectly. There's so many things going right in it, but something's going wrong. We don't know what. So recently I've been running an MTW with the Inferno engine in it. And that thing has been, it's been a soldier. So there's that. And then a lot of people that play with me at R&M will usually see my Scorpion that I wear on my side. That is an HPA Scorpion Mod M. I love that thing. It's got a crazy high fire rate. And the reason that I do that is so that when I play at events that don't allow you to go full auto indoors unless you have an SMG, that guy lets me do it. So I practice how I play as well. Or if I'm running a sniper, that's my backup go-to. I don't like gas pistols anymore. I'm sick of them. So a gas pullback setup only gets so many rounds before something breaks. I found myself always fixing them. You drop it one time, you have to fix it. So I moved on to HPA as a sidearm, which a lot of people will say is crazy, but that's what I do.
Is there any specific like HPA what's the word, engines or
The engine itself.
yeah
Yeah.
that you prefer?
So, well, for FCUs, if you can get a Gorilla FCU to pair with your engine, I like those because those give you the ability to adjust your settings on your phone. It's a
Yeah.
lot better than having to play with the trigger. As far as engines go, I don't necessarily think there's one that's like crazy better than the other. It kind of depends on the application you're going for. I love my MTW that runs an Inferno. It's exactly what I need. It's ready to go paired with my Gorilla. It just functions, right? I don't
Yeah.
have to ever worry about it. It's also very low in air pressure. So I think I run it like 60 psi or less to get 1.5 joules, which is generally, most events or most open plays limit, which means it's efficient on air, so I can run all day without getting a fill. That I like. You also have the Polar Star line of things, which use the different poppet setup, so like they open and close. You can generally go a higher fire rate with those sort of things, but it really depends on your preference. Again, I would like urge people to look on Reddit, see a similar build that you're looking to attain, and then build around that. And then budget is also always a thing. So
Yeah. Trying to think. Is there any particular like communities, not even just airsoft in general, that you are a part of that you might want to elaborate on, maybe?
not so, dude. Airsoft consumes so much of my life
Yeah.
in one way or another. It's really so funny, and that's why we don't really call it a sport. We call it a hobby because it's that's whole section. I would say the things that I've been gearing my time towards within the airsoft world that like diverge into other areas of hobbying are like prop making. So you saw
Okay.
the boombox that we used
Yeah.
at Abysmal Nutrition. I learned to code. I relearned microelectronics. I haven't touched them since high school digital electronics in my first year at I think MCC for electronics there. And like I've just been spending time trying to, I don't want to call it revolutionizing like the prop world of airsoft, but like
Yeah.
I just want to make something different. I want to be more interactive. I want to give players a unique experience that they haven't had before. And I guess that's kind of like where that diverts into. So like microelectronics are really cool. You also have the corollary relationship with like soldering in your MOSFET and like making tweaks to your replicas that way. So like digital electronics is something really cool for me. Most of the learning that I do for that is again Reddit, but secondary to that is going to be AI resources. So like ChatGPT, Gemini for Android. It's just a way for me to like ask a quick question if I don't know it or if I can't find it through YouTube videos, and like I can get a quick response that's probably right. Probably. And then the other side of things is like I don't know, like I don't play anymore, but I used to play Pathfinder, like D&D, like those
Yeah.
type things, and that has helped me immensely in the world of like event producing.
Okay.
Like the idea of being able to create a
Story building
scenario,
and
build a story, and like understand how it's gonna flow. Mind you, airsoft throws a wrench into that no matter
Yeah.
what you do. I'll give Homebound as an example for that one when the players ended up stealing from the
Stealing
CIA
everything
truck.
from the CIA truck.
Couldn't have planned it. Worked great. It was awesome. It's
Yeah.
a really cool twist. Same thing with Abysmal Nutrition. Did not expect the hand to be able to plant or rearm the bomb right at the end of the first half there. One of the Kilo 3 boys, Tommy, managed to do it. So like throws a wrench in your plans, everything changes, which is like really cool to have that background in playing tabletop games so that you understand like how to navigate those weird challenges and stuff. Other than that, man, so much of it's just airsoft now. Microelectronics, like tabletop gaming, video gaming in general, I guess. Like, just getting familiar and understanding. I've always been like a moderate like military buff. I love war movies. I had experience with Civil Air Patrol from the ages of like 12 to 18. I did search and rescue. So I've always been surrounded by like the aspect of the military, which transfers well into airsoft. So
Yeah.
that's about it.
So, do you happen to have any, just in general, ideas for new props you might be expecting to try?
I have so many. So the boombox is, which I technically can't call the boombox when I go to sell it to fields and stuff like that because it's trademarked. I found that out.
Yeah.
Fun facts. Housey recommended the Kilo 3 Crater Maker, which is probably what we're going to be sticking with.
Okay.
But yeah, so that prop isn't done. You guys didn't see it in its full functionality. In the future, it will. It's already programmed for this, but it has difficulty levels where I'll be able to incorporate more detonation wires on it, so it won't be just the 25% risk that you end up blowing it. I can increase that exponentially to more wires at the terminal. On top of that, it has the function of actually pulling the pin on any airsoft grenade or smoke. So we'll have actual feedback from the unit itself without the need to have a ref intervene, which is the immersion aspect. That's what I aim for. There's that prop has also stemmed other ideas. So I have already made like little breaching charges that interact with RFID locks. So they'll be able to, you detonate them, they blow some smoke out, which is PG vape juice, and then they unlatch a deadbolt on a door so that you can actually be able to enter a building that way. Which should be a cool immersive experience. We're working on building a kill house for R&M in the near future, but we have to wait to like implement that sort of thing. There's this one really big project that I'm excited to work on we were originally going to do it Halloween this year. I made it too intricate with the help of House, making it too intricate to unveil it this year. But one of the things I learned through coding was how to make a web API and do like interactive maps. So that'll be coming soon. And then to further that idea, I'm in the middle of building a hacking prop. So one of our events will feature terminals that will be defended by like the U.S. military force, and the insurgent group will have to come in with their little hacking module, plug it in, start the hack, and then it will require input at different intervals while they defend it and try and extract the information to their CO. So yeah, anything that I can do to just kind of make a more interactive, more interesting experience, even if it's something simple like building those, radio prop towers, PVC towers, gives a little more immersion, gives you something to fight for. That's kind of what we look for. We're just trying to lean away from the regular slapstick or like, the
flag.
The flag, yeah.
The flag in the middle of the field.
Right. So anything that we can do to really advance R&M as a field and like attract people to like this new style of play and Kilo events. Eventually we want to be able to produce events at other AOs. And to do that and to like put the value pack into it where people are going to be willing to pay more, we think it's really important that we spend a lot of time to develop cool stuff. Specifically myself, I have a problem.
Have you guys ever thought of, I'm just curious about this myself, looking into like other communities and stealing ideas, like for example the SCP community, how that's sort of like a militant based thing, but it's a different universe where there's special rules to it or such.
So we love the idea of the LARP concept. So, like, specifically, ever since I saw the start of, like, Revelations at Ballahack, I'm like, I want to build a game like that. And you see other event producers do stuff like that, too. The problem that we've run into up until now is player count. R&M hasn't always been the craziest field. This most recent event, we got 96 players on the field active at one time.
I've actually never been to an event that big, and I was just like, wow, this is crazy.
Like, period? You've never? Or just at R&M?
At R&M.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, so it's nothing crazy for like Kilo. Like we play in, 300, 400 player events, but when you're talking about like our little backyard home field, like it's really cool to see that. Patient Zero and Homebound, I think, had somewhere between like 40 and 60 players in the past years. So like to see us grow like that is good sign for being able to do something like very LARPy. And I'm going to test it out this year for Halloween. But it has this weird like balance because we allow players to come onto the field as like an open play basis where it's like, you can walk on. That's why we do armbands instead of like required camos, because we don't do pre-registration. So you have to build an event where you can allow players to play how they want, but encourage them to do the things that we want the game to be. So it's not, if a kid shows up and he's not expecting to LARP, he's not going to play the LARP necessarily unless you can get him really bought in. A good example of like how we do that sort of thing is Housey. I know he came up to you for an interview during Abysmal Attrition.
Came up to me for 2 interviews.
Oh, actually. For 2 interviews. There we go. So
because I was the one who defused the bomb.
Right.
And also he came up earlier, just when I was like defending the tower, and he was like, "We're gonna do an interview. Do you want to be in it?" And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah. So that's like one of the key pieces is like how do you get your players to buy into it, even if they didn't really sign up for it. And it's the energy that you bring is what we're figuring out as we go. And then on top of that is like those interactive props. When something feels interactive, people want to interact with it. So the more we figure that stuff out, the easier it is to kind of transition to a more like LARP style game. This year's Halloween event is the 1,000-Year War, and I'll actually 100% accredit the basic game idea to Zevin directly. He actually wanted to do it for Abysmal Attrition. I was like, hold on, bro. This is actually like too good of an idea. Like, let me spend some time, develop some props for it, and like build up on the backstory for it, and we can turn it into something like really cool that I think the players will enjoy. And it will also be one of the first few multi-faction events that we've ever done where it's not like Kilo is a QRF squad.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, there's multiple teams playing for this, playing for these objectives. I won't give too much away because Chemical Trail's the main focus right now. But yeah, so like it's definitely something we want to gear towards. Battle Hack is a huge inspiration in terms of my personal thing for that. Of course, we go to a bunch of different event producers. So like we see something cool and we're like, oh, I think we could like use an aspect of that and like, you know, do it in our own cool way. Which is kind of like where Chemical Trail comes from, right? Like you go to so many events that are like, oh, DEA versus the cartel. It's like, okay, I can do something like that, but we can put our own unique twist on it. What we never want to do is just like steal an idea from someone, right? We want to grow as a community and like turn it into something that we can call our own and make it unique. And then we hope the player base feels it that way. So yeah, man, we're always open to ideas. This is the first year where where Zevin was like, I have these dates. Let me know if you're going to do them. And I was like, we're going to take them all. We're going to take them all. I planned Abysmal Attrition in 3 weeks. So it was a really like intense amount of work for me. And we have more time for the next events. I'll be producing Chemical Trail, you know, with some co-producing help from the rest of Kilo 3. And then the next event after that, actually, the next 2 events after that are going to be produced by different members of Kilo 3, just to give me a break. And then Halloween comes back to me again, and then next year we'll probably have that plan. So, like, as far as, like, people from the R&M community suggesting ideas, yourself included, get those ideas out there. We'll see what we can do with them. One of the things that, like, I always want to, like, let people know up front, like, with people that were sending me feedback from Abysmal Attrition is, like, just understand that you guys have a player perspective from one team. Right? So, like, we do the best that we can to balance those mechanics. It's not always possible. One, I build props that can shoot myself in the foot where it's like, you know, like someone could detonate this prop early, the game accelerates. Or like, you know, someone could steal from the CIA gun truck and the game accelerates in a different way. And then we also always want to do some stuff that like maybe might possibly be secret from the players, but not game breaking. And then so in terms of that, like we'll probably take in your idea. We'll be like, how much of this can we use verbatim? And then what can we do to incorporate props that we have or would like to build for it? And then also like, how do we balance this game? Balancing is the hardest part of all of this.
I'm a DM myself.
Right.
So I understand how bad balancing can be, especially because in my last campaign that I ran, they ended up like killing some ridiculous monster like super early by accident. So they got ridiculously overpowered in the very beginning of the game.
Yeah, and then you got to like play your stuff.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'll touch on too. Actually, is like we do events a little bit differently for the most part. Not every event is like this, but for the most part, we run balancing mechanics. So when you see me running around in my red shirt, when you see my other red shirts running around, we're balancing the game actively. We might be feeding the CEOs different information so that they can like respond accordingly. That's not to like cost one team a victory or anything like that. That's to keep the fight going. Homebound is like a really great example. So like when we were talking about like putting the objectives out on the field, I'd be like, hey, Matt, go ahead and send players to this grid square. And then I'd be like, hey, it looks like there's intel over here. Might get into a gunfight. Send your people over there too. And like that's how we keep the conflict going and keep it like organic, not really interrupting who's going to win the game, but keeping it so that players are engaged. That's been one of the things that we've been trying to focus on the most, which Abysmal Attrition did really, really well in terms of like you've seen at R&M. Like a lot of people like take their lunch whenever they want to take their lunch. They're off the field. Sometimes you see more people and then they go off the field. And, so like at Abysmal Attrition, we only had like 5 people off the field at a given time with the exception of lunch. And that's what we're looking for. You know, people are having their most fun when everyone's on the field and then the teams aren't, you know, getting unweighted, but it's also impossible to account for like skill level and things like that. That's why generally like Kilo will run as a third squad so we can kind of steamroll in as we need to. But yeah, so it's a challenge, but we welcome it and we're trying to figure out different ways to navigate it, different game mechanics like medics and stuff like that so we can alleviate that and then expanding the field so we can have more opportunities to do weird different shit.
Okay. Well, I believe that's actually all the time we have for today. So Thank you for joining us for Trigger Talk. Stay frosty, and we'll see you next time.